Yep. Hey guys, what's up? Going to do a little interview here. So, if whoever's gonna watch. Got any questions? Ask. This is Tina Gaffney.
Hello.
I work with her. We did work with the Worcester Peace Tour. No one's watching at the moment, but soon
okay.
they'll pop up.
They'll
pop up when people watch. But yeah, but I think they'll find out as long as we keep going. Then
Okay.
we good.
And it's showtime.
Cool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the African American Experience. This program is intended for a print-impaired audience and is brought to you by the Audio Journal. Hello, and welcome to the African American Experience, a program celebrating the artistic, cultural, and historic contributions of African Americans. This program has been created and produced by the Audio Journal's Roy Allen Project to carry on the work and vision of its namesake. Roy Allen was an extraordinary human being who deeply touched the lives of his family, his friends, and his colleagues. He was a trailblazer for African Americans in the fields of theater, radio, and television. In carrying on Roy's vision to inspire the African American community to a sense of pride and power in its achievements, and to share those achievements with all the community, we present the African American Experience with your host, Tina E. Gaffney. Hello, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be back, and I'm so super duper excited to have the guest I have today, who is portraying, I don't know if those of you who have heard about it or not, but there's a documentary, can we call it that?
We can call it a documentary, yes.
A documentary about the legendary cyclist Major Taylor. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you and then start by telling us how he got the acting bug.
Hello everyone, how's it going? My name's Mike Daniel. I am playing Major Taylor in this upcoming documentary that's been in the work for quite some time actually. I'm a Worcester native. I live here. I've grown up here. Born in Boston, raised in Worcester. I got into acting back in 2013 when I attended Fitchburg State University. After graduating from Quincy Community College, those that don't know, it's a community college here in Worcester. I was there for way too long. Way too long. Normally it's 2 years you're supposed to be there, but I was there for like 7. But that's a story for a different day. But when I got to Fitchburg State, I originally wanted to do film and video, but unfortunately they didn't allow me to be in the program because I guess I wasn't qualified, or I didn't have the prerequisites, I guess, to be in.
Oh, you mean certain courses?
Yeah, certain courses. I guess that they were offered somewhere. They didn't have it at Quincy or any of the high schools I went to. So, but instead they gave me a big list of different majors that I could different courses I can major in.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought process was just to find out which of these majors would allow me to write the least amount of essays. Because
I know several people that can relate to that.
Yeah, I didn't want to write essays. That's all.
Yes,
but
indeed.
it's.
But wait, I mean, it's funny you should say that, because if you look online now and you're a student, scholar, or college student that's returning, they now actually say, no essay scholarship. Apply here now. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Too funny. All right, but continue, please.
But so I was looking for whichever one was gonna allow me to write the least amount of essays,
Mm-hmm.
and theater stuck out to me. And thinking back, I was thinking I can probably learn a little bit what I wanted to learn in film and video.
Oh, sure.
With theater. Thinking back to how I know knowing myself, I like to be animated. I'm a very personable guy.
Yes, you are.
A colorful personality, I know that. A lot of people know.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it'd be fun. I like to act and perform, so I majored in theater, and pretty much the rest is history. And being at Fitchburg State, it really allowed me to do a lot of things that growing up I had I just didn't even think things were possible for me, like, at all.
Oh, Well, is anyone in your family in acting or theater?
No.
Oh, so
No,
it's
I'm the only one.
you.
Not to my knowledge, at least, but,
Well, I mean, because I know some of the people in my family did high school plays, they did their senior play. Did anyone in your family do stuff in maybe junior high or high school?
I
Or...
mean, yeah, when we were kids, like my brothers, and pretty sure my cousins, we, the occasional, like 5th grade, 3rd grade
Mm-hmm.
school play or anything like that. Probably before Fitchburg State, the only type of acting I did was outside of like, grade school, elementary
Mm-hmm.
school plays, was just, yeah, pretty much that was it. Like,
Oh,
yeah, and we did in high school. We did a skit like every year before. This was at Southbridge High. I went to
okay.
2 high schools. I went to Worcester North and
Oh,
Southbridge
wow.
High.
Hey.
So this is back in 2006. I grew up. This is fall 2006, my senior year at
Wow.
Southbridge High. We every year before the big Thanksgiving football game,
Mm-hmm.
our rivals Bartlett and
Okay.
Webster. I played football, and
Mm-hmm.
they just sloshed us. They sloshed us so much. Like they just, yeah, and they beat us pretty bad. But
Oh.
before the big game, there'd be pep rallies, and each grade would each grade would have to put on like a skit or something like that.
Right.
So I wanted to be a part of it, and so for the senior skit, I did that, and
Oh.
so I dressed up as our quarterback. I forget what our story was. We had one of our guys kind of. It was wild. It was wild, but also wasn't very good.
Oh, wow.
Like, it wasn't very
When
good.
is theater not wild?
Yeah.
Now, who are some actors that inspire you?
Actors that inspire me. Right now it's like I'm so much. Well, I'm a big fan of Michael B. Jordan and
Yes.
Jake Gyllenhaal, and
Yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio, and
Mhm.
Denzel, Will Smith.
course.
Before
Before the recent events.
Yeah, the recent events, there were recent events, but it still doesn't.
Done. Yeah, but it doesn't
Yeah.
negate that he did great work for 30 years. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
You know? Oh, my goodness.
Doesn't negate any of that. I think Will Smith has always had like a very positive message and outlook
Yes.
on life that's been also very, very inspiring for me.
And not only that, he's also good at giving back to people. But I guess now things will be different because, he's been banned from the thing for 10 years from the Oscars.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
The next 10 years, right. The next 10 years will, have to tell the tale. Are there any women actors that inspire you?
Yes, there is, oh, I can't forget her name. Oh, gosh. I'm drawing a blank right now.
I can start listing them off.
Yeah.
Right. Viola Davis,
Viola
Spencer.
Davis.
Yeah.
I can't even talk right now. Viola Davis, yes,
Mm.
she is definitely one of
Yes.
them. There's a plethora. I will say Olivia Wilde has also been, and she does more acting. She's been more directing.
Mhm. I just saw-
Charlize Theron. That's who. Charlize
yeah.
Theron. That's the one who.
Right. Well, I just saw Olivia Wilde's trailer for Don't Worry, Darling. And of course, Charlize Theron,
Yeah.
Oscar winner, The Italian Job. She won her Oscar
Absolutely.
for Mother. So, she's been around for a while.
Mhm.
How did you first come to hear about the Major Taylor Endeavor?
The Major Taylor Endeavor. Well, back when I'm gonna say maybe 2018.
Yes.
2018 or 2018. I met a woman named Barbara Gurton. I met her when I got recruited to do a show with Quincy and Fourth Wall theater company.
Mm-hmm.
To do a show called Thornwood. She directed it. That's how I met her. And over the years we stayed in contact. And I want to say maybe that same year or 2019. She contacted me about pretty much writing and starring in a play for Major Taylor.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, it was cool. But at the time, I honestly didn't know much about Major Taylor. I heard of him, but didn't know a whole lot about him at all.
Right.
But I felt like I wasn't the right guy to write about him because I didn't feel like I could do it enough justice.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her that if someone else get a play or write a play, I don't mind. I have no problem portraying him.
Right.
Fast forward fast forward to this year, earlier this year, where she contacted me again because she's contacted me on and off about it like, over the years. And she said, "Hey, the documentary, we're gonna do this. We still would love you to play." I think they had another guy, but then he couldn't do it. He dropped out, and then they asked Barbara, who she knew, and then I was the first guy on her list,
Go,
which
Mike.
is really great.
Go,
Yeah,
Mike. Go, Mike.
it was fun to try.
Excellent.
So yeah, and then that's how I got involved, and I've been involved in it ever since, and learned more about his story. It's been very fascinating.
Okay. What is the most important aspect of the Major Taylor story that you want audiences to take away from this documentary?
I think just his perseverance. When you think about it, you know, he's probably what you can consider him as maybe one of the original, you know, superstar athletes. He was the second African American world champion behind, I believe it was a boxer named George Dixon, I think his name was. I think his name was George Dixon. He was a boxer. He was the first African American world athlete. But when you think about life for African Americans, just at the turn of the century in late 1890s and early 1900s, when pretty much like the only real some of the rights that African Americans had wasn't really too many as human beings, and maybe the only some rights that they really did have was just to was just breathing, and sometimes that sometimes that itself wasn't even enough.
Mm-hmm.
But granted, everything that he was facing, that he went through during those times, he still competed, he still persevered and looked past all of those hardships, and was very, very accomplished in his field, which he got by, I want to say, not necessarily by accident, but he was working at a bike shop as pretty much as a entertainer in such a way, because he was good on bikes. We just did tricks on bikes, and the owner saw him doing tricks on bikes and kind of just entered him into a race, and he didn't even know he was in a race. He was kind of just like, there, like, all right, I'm gonna ride a bike, and then next thing you know, you're just see people lining up next to you.
Well, I should let people know. I don't know if it's on print anymore or not, but there is also a children's book about Major Taylor, so you should seek it out. What has surprised you the most about participating in this endeavor?
What surprised me the most about participating in the endeavor? I would say the professionalism between everyone at Votary, meeting Cyril, I think he's watching right now. Yeah. Hey, Cyril.
Hi, Cyril.
I believe just and how serious everyone was taking it, and how important the entire story is to everyone, even to myself.
Oh, yes.
To tell the best story it possibly can, because thinking about it, maybe not many people knew much about Major Taylor, even to this day. I mean, I'm still learning a lot about him. There really isn't much. He's not. I learned about him very recently, and so his story is very important, to a lot of people, and myself and everyone at Votary Film. So they wanted to make sure we do this great, like the best way possible. And when I got to Votary Films and met Jed and the rest of the crew, with how, I guess, like delicacy they were treating, the whole story, how they wanted everything to be perfect and right, and the level of professionalism they all had. Because normally, I'm still trying to break into, acting and performing in theater and film and video and stuff like that. I get hits to do like other film projects and stuff like that, and normally it's kind of just like student film projects, and which is great, which is totally great for everyone, doing the student film projects and small things like that, which is totally cool and fine. But this one was on a different level that was pretty much something I never really experienced aside from doing extra work on like some small films,
Oh, yeah.
not small films, but like
Yeah.
just being an extra and like
Well,
doing work with like Boston Casting and stuff like that.
I've worked with them.
Yeah.
This is a two-part question. One,
Sure.
how do you think Major Taylor stayed so inspired as he pursued his dream? And do you believe the Major Taylor story should become a part of the curriculum in learning locations?
I believe he stayed inspired because I think kind of echoing what I was recently just saying is when you think about, the time he was living in and what he was able to do, what he was able to do, what he couldn't do. Like for African Americans, what much did we have? And for Major Taylor, his thing was riding the bike and being riding a bike and being a champion. That's all he had. Despite everything that was going on with like racial injustice or racial undertones or whatever the word is for it. Given the back in that time. So
That's
if
exactly
anything,
right.
if anything that was going to give him any type of peace and happiness, it was that. So that's what he had. And then it's like you think about even when he retired in 1909, 1910, I believe it was. He got like he was credited for being a champion, but he was still rained down with like a bunch of booze and had things and bottles and stuff thrown at him.
Right.
And that like once he was done, it was just that was it. Like today, when any like superstar athletes retire, they're still set for the rest of their lives. They can still go into other avenues and such. Major Taylor, when he retired, he didn't have any of that.
Right, it was kind of bittersweet,
It was bittersweet, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And only that, when he retired, he was eventually became like estranged from his family. Then he kind of just passed away when he died, like penniless. He didn't have anything.
And what do you think about the Major Taylor story becoming a part of the curriculum in learning locations?
I think it's very important. I think that's something that should be done because, especially I think at the juvenile level, as in like just children, especially in like high schools and maybe even elementary, also elementary schools. And I know there's courses in some colleges that are specifically focused on African American history and life and stuff like that. So he definitely should be a part of that. If he's not, I hope he is. I'm not too sure, but I think like kids, especially males, young males, and some girls. Not to leave all the ladies, out of it, but like sports, and they look up to their heroes: LeBron James, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, A-Rod, all these Michael Jordan, all these superstar athletes, and what I was saying earlier, you think Major Taylor was probably one of the first original like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady-esque type characters in the world.
Well, saying that you're completely 250% correct. When I was asking you earlier about if any people in family members had portrayed in theater, anybody, I always think back to my sister when she was in high school. Speaking about athletes, she portrayed Althea Gibson. Oh my God. First African American woman to win Wimbledon? Are you kidding? And then I was talking about other she-roles like the Williams sisters. Good Lord.
Serena.
That whole era and legacy. I guess a lot of people are unaware that the drink Gatorade that athletes use, because she just retired for the time being, they took off the G with a little lightning bolt, and now it's an S for Serena. And I just thought that was so cool. I said, with branding, you go right ahead, Serena. You go right ahead. Mm-hmm. What is your hope that once people hear the Major Taylor story, what do you hope will come out of this?
I hope that they're inspired. I hope that they learn more, that everyone learns more about but more about African American athletes, African American experience, especially. Well, more importantly, I think just the times that that was in the late 1890s and before, and the early 1900s. Because it's really not that long ago. And
it's not.
and also when you think, here's Major Taylor being this world class athlete and
Champion.
world class athlete and champion. Then when he's done, being a champion or racing, he goes to a restaurant and he can't sit at the tables. He can't,
right.
He has to go out back or a little segregated area. Like imagine if Tom Brady couldn't like, couldn't do something like that.
Done great things
it'd be
for the
weird.
sport, Mr. Brady, but you can't come in. No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm a big proponent of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion,
yes.
and that's even been updated now. And I'll give an example to go with what you were saying. Now it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. If you have two people who are actors like you or I, and we see the diversity in a project that we're working in, that's great. Equity, the playing field is level, also great. Including us is great. However, if we don't have the access that other people have to the tools that we need to succeed, that's a thing. And people are just beginning to equate that with the whole entire thing. So, what inspires you the most? Good segue you gave me about portraying Major Taylor.
I think it's because Major Taylor he can be considered as a Worcester icon.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Me, being me is like, I would love to have like, take on such a project like that or be, I guess the guy. I don't know, but part of me likes to be. I'll admit, part of me selfishly sometimes like to be a center of attention. Being just
nothing
like
wrong with that. No shame or blame in that.
Just being like the goofball that I've always been.
I've been called that for a good portion of my life. I get that exactly.
But yeah, hopefully just inspiring I guess more locals and such to go after what they want, to pursue their dreams. And to tell the story of Major Taylor as well, and enlighten the masses and inspire people. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something you might want to consider for next fall. That Start on the Street festival that they have here. Yeah. They're always looking for performers, and maybe you could write and do like 20 minutes about Major Taylor because you're well versed with it now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Consider, now putting Major Taylor aside for a minute. What inspires you as an actor?
What inspires me as an actor? Just the drive to perform. It's like, before I got into acting, football was my thing. And the only thing I wanted to do was play football. Like as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, my mind was set on playing for the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, wow.
That was like my first favorite team. The 98 season they had when Randy Moss was his rookie. That was, I don't know. I remember the moment I realized that football was something for me was, it was in, I'm going to say third grade. I think third grade or fourth grade. Playing football at recess at Rice School in Holden, Mass, which is now a condo place.
Wow.
We were playing. I have the vision in my head. Someone threw me the ball, and I just like caught it. And I just remember catching it, and just like that moment right there, I didn't know what I did. I didn't realize I had caught it until it was in my hand. Wow. And I was like, oh, okay, this was fun. This was cool, and everybody was happy for me. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. But life has its ways of doing all kinds of things. So that didn't really turn out. But when I got into acting. Like I was saying earlier, thinking back on all the stuff I was doing, in school, being a class clown and stuff like that. So it makes sense a little bit that I would do, that I would get into acting and perform. And every time I'm watching a film or I'm watching people on stage, just their performances alone, is very inspiring because I just have this drive of just wanting to perform and entertain people. So when I'm watching Michael B. Jordan or Denzel or Leo or Jake doing, which all of them just so many great films, all of them doing working on their craft or doing their performances. Even like a couple years ago when I was doing extra work for the film Spencer Confidential with Ryan Reynolds, and Mark Wahlberg last year was a Ryan Reynolds film called Spirited, which should be coming out soon. And just with Will Ferrell, and just watching them perform, just watching them, do their craft, that itself is inspiring. So I just want to be able to do that again.
So do you consider yourself to be more of a storyteller, more of an actor, or both?
I'm not too sure. I would say both. But I do know I need to, I need to work on all of it, because I want to be able to tell good stories. I kind of think about so I'm also a wrestling fan.
Oh, okay.
So I love wrestling. Everybody watching knows I love wrestling a lot. People have come up to me like, Mike, you should be a wrestler, and you should go and be a wrestler. And what wrestlers do, people say it's fake or whatever, but I call it predetermined. It's a show. They're also performers. They also tell stories with their bodies.
They do.
And if I can tell a story with my body, with my face, with my emotions, then I'm happy. A couple of years ago, I did a show called Clybourne Park, which to this day I think is my favorite show to do.
Oh.
And it was the first time, after the show, it was the first time this girl, she came up to me. I think she was like 16. I forget her age, but she came up to me and she said I made her cry at one point, and I was like, "What?" I did. And she loved my performance.
There you go.
I was like, I think she might have been the daughter of one of my castmates. I forget who she was, but she came up to me and I was like, "Wow, cool." I didn't say cool, but I was like, I don't know what to say. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know, but for me, I think that meant that I was doing my job the best way to my ability.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people are unaware that as actors, we have the capability to literally change people's lives with our talent. I was doing a tour in the 90s of Are You Ready, My Sister, which is a Harriet Tubman story, and we were having the after chat with the audience, and the little girl, she couldn't have been more than 8, came up and she was like tugging my shoulder, and she was like, "Could I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure, you can." She said, "You know what, are you always as good?" And then you could tell she was nervous but excited, and she said, "Miss Gaffney, I want to do what you do when I get bigger, because you make life better." And I went, and that literally became a part of my life mission statement, because if you know that what you're doing is touching people in a positive way, it's affecting positive change, it's making life better, yay, yay, yay,
and
yay,
I
yay.
think that's the biggest takeaway, I think, as being a performer. It's like, if I can perform, and my job is to move people. And if you leave a show or whatever, and if you weren't moved in any shape or form, then sorry, you didn't really do your job too well. Right. I mean, entertaining is great, but I'm trying to move people. That's what I want to do. So if I can make people move with my performance, then it's a massive, massive success.
Okay, I've never gotten to do this before, but since this is on Facebook Live, I'm going to say it. Hi, Mom. Hi, Craig. Hi, Yvette. Hi, Johnny. There you go. Okay. Hi, Richard. Okay. Why do you think it's taken so long for the story to be discovered? Because I'll preface this by saying, when I saw the actors of Hidden Figures say how upset they were that it took that long to figure out that there were women of color in the space program.
Right.
But then Janelle Monáe, who's one of the women in the film, said, but once we started, I was really glad. Thank you, Pharrell Williams, for producing that film. And then she said she was thrilled and honored to be a part of it. So why do you think it's taken so long for the Major Taylor story to be discovered?
Simply because I don't think not too many people know about him. I guess like I was saying, growing up in Worcester, I saw his photo. Mm-hmm. I just saw a dude on a bike. I saw the statue outside the library, and I just me just being a kid. I was like, whatever. It's not wrestling. It's not whatever. There's only so much things I cared about, But that's just me being me as a kid.
Yep.
That's how I was. So I didn't really think too much. I honestly just didn't really think too much about it.
Right.
And then I think when I was in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, is when I realized, that's Major Taylor and what he really was. I was like, oh, that's really cool. The little Worcester history and whatnot. But yeah, I didn't learn about him in high school, didn't learn about him in grade school. Didn't learn about him in college
Mm-hmm.
or any of that. I just said, oh, this is a famous African American, from Worcester. When he was actually I think from Indiana, but then he came to Worcester.
Came to Worcester, right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I think there's not enough. There's just not enough people that know about his story, and I think that's an ode to the education system about even just on African Americans, like it's themselves, the education system there.
Do you think there will be more endeavors like this one about Major Taylor and other sheroes and heroes of our culture?
I believe so, or I hope so. There absolutely should be, because there's just so. I mean, this is just Major Taylor. There's probably there is so much more stories that aren't told, that haven't been told, that are still waiting to be told.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every single one of them should be told, because it's all inspiring. All of it's inspiring. If it's not inspiring for some, it's definitely inspiring to someone. Someone out there will be inspired by it, because I mean everyone's going through their, we all go through our different stuff,
right,
that we have going on in life. There's just way too many of us for all of us to be going through something completely different individually. So I think there's something that someone will be able to relate to from hearing every one of those stories being told.
Oh, exactly.
And it doesn't even like stop just with just us African Americans. It could be anybody
right.
at all.
We all need inspiration. I'm going to take a quick moment and say to you Facebook viewers, can you pick that up and show them that photograph right there? At the beginning of the show, I always say we're thanking Roy Allen.
There we go.
This photograph is right there.
Turn the camera around.
Yeah, that's Roy Allen. He was the first, listen to me carefully, he was the first cameraman at CBS television that was African American. Deal with that. That's a huge thing. And he made so many contributions. Yes. I'll read that while you have that there.
Sure.
The Roy Allen Broadcast Studio in memoriam for his many contributions as a talented broadcaster, a trainer of other volunteers, an actor and director of live radio theater, and for the treasure of his friendship. We miss him so much. So I just wanted to put that out there that Mike and I are standing on the shoulders of greatness of people who came before us. I know he inspires me every time I'm here. Speaking of inspiring, three-part question.
Three-part question.
Do you feel that the Major Taylor story would work in other platforms such as A, radio, B, television, or C, on Broadway?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about like the stuff that already gets to some of those platforms, which is my personal opinion. Some of it's like, who greenlit this?
I've had that thought many times. Some of the content I've seen.
Try and keep it PG a little bit, but what
right.
I'm saying, there's a lot of things out there that make it, to YouTube, to Netflix, or to radio, to stage, and it's like, well, someone greenlit it.
Definitely.
So, but Major Taylor, he's a story, his story, in my personal opinion, on the levels of like Muhammad Ali.
I agree.
Absolutely. So, radio, Broadway, absolutely film.
Definitely.
As we're doing the documentary.
Yeah, definitely.
It will work in every endeavor and every avenue.
Now, if it got to Broadway, whom, in addition to yourself, could you see portray Major Taylor? But I have some thoughts.
Well, I mean, I want to say Michael B. Jordan again, or but I believe it can be almost anyone. But I believe it should be someone who's up and coming. I guess, because I think that's such a relatable element for Major Taylor, because he was one of the lesser known athletes, world champions. There's a plethora of talented actors from everyone,
Well, when I first heard that you were doing this and then I saw your flyer, some names immediately came to mind. John Boyega from the Star Wars thing, and Daniel from Get Out was along after him. And actually, even though he's older than both of those two, and he bypassed being James Bond. I think
Idris Elba
could give it a definite go. 'Cause I could so see him doing this. I could
Mhm.
completely see Idris Elba in any of these, but
Idris Elba is another very inspiring talent.
And the other one, who's won Best Supporting Actor twice, Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala Ali, yeah.
Yes.
He's going to be Blade.
I was just going to say, you heard it here first, folks. He's the new Blade. Although I do have to wonder how a certain Mr. Wesley Snipes is feeling about that decision.
I also feel shame on me that I didn't even mention Chadwick Boseman.
Oh yes, of course.
As a key. I'll admit when he died, it was that was probably the first celebrity death that I guess that hit me in such a way because he was so great in every film.
Everything he ever did.
And
rest in power, Chadwick. I mean, I don't know if I saw all the films he made. I think the only one I didn't see that he made, I didn't see the one he did with Viola about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I didn't see the one when he was a police officer, something about bridges. But the rest of them, oh my gosh. When I first saw his work, I said to people, in under 3 years, he's done every major role you can possibly consider.
Yes.
I completely expected him to get the Oscar. I completely expected him because he was so good. And then, but I will tell a story that he told at a college graduation just really quickly. He was the keynote speaker at a college graduation, and he told the story of him being on a set for a TV show that he'd been cast for. And he was the son, he had a mom on the show and a dad on the show. And during a break in filming, he sought out the producers and he said, "Hello, I just have a question." He said for us to ask if we had any questions. And he said, "Okay, go ahead." He said, "Well, I'm the son in this family. Where's my mom?" And he said, "Oh, well, of course, she's in jail because she did crack." He said, "Okay, well, where's my dad?" "Oh, he's serving a life sentence in the penitentiary." And he said, "Ah." And then the producers asked him, they said, "What's your name?" He said, "My name is Chadwick Boseman." And he said, "Okay, we'll keep an eye on you, Mr. Boseman." He was promptly fired the next day. The point being, artistic curiosity is a really great thing because it really lets you get an indication of what the playing field you're like is really on. Am I saying everyone is that way? Of course not. We both, I'm sure, have had fabulous experiences being the actors that we are. But these days, because the industry has changed, I like to tell people it's pre-Hamilton, post-Hamilton.
Right, yeah.
That now...
I've yet to see Hamilton. I haven't seen it yet.
I'd love to see that show. The only Broadway show I've ever seen in my life is The Lion King. That's it. But
I've yet to see any Broadway show. I haven't done that yet.
That should be a rite of passage for any actor.
That's
Go see a Broadway show. But of course, now with everything everybody's navigating, But nowadays, in addition to what I like to call people that I teach, the active actor's arsenal, you have to have self-preservation. You totally do. You completely, totally do.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the Major Taylor story could be adapted as, like you were saying, about higher learning as a college course in the future? And if so, how do you think they could go about that?
Absolutely. I think if it's not, it should be. Everything about Major Taylor should be done. Anything that that calls for it. There's definitely specifically African American history courses in colleges and especially even at HBCUs, which should be a no-brainer. It should be there, yeah.
Thank you.
I think how it should go about would just like every other story, every other athlete, any other story, any other historical African American figure in African American history. Major Taylor is part of history, not just in athletics, but just African American history itself.
Sure
he is part of the history, and his story deserves and should be told.
I should have listed on that list earlier that I gave to you. I think he would be really good in a graphic novel too, because there are millions of people that read graphic novels
It can be cartoons for
chapter
kids.
Books for the younger kids. Oh my goodness! I think it would just be fantastic.
Even in video games too.
Yes.
Do that too.
Because actually, if you have the paths on the video game on the screen and he's doing that, that's a very good idea. Wow! Oh my gosh! Now here's a question. Is there a website that people can go to for more information about this?
Absolutely. There is the Worcester Whirlwind, worcesterwhirlwind.com. You can go there. You can become an ambassador Cyril, you still watching? Is in ambassador at WorcesterWhirlwind.com.
Okay.
I think he's still watching, so he might pause it
Okay.
up there. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
All information about the film. You can join there and also help donate. I believe because it's still a working process. They're like I was saying they're probably planning of it being done by like 2024, 2025, somewhere in there. So it's still a real working process. They're still interviewing places. Cyril is still going and traveling to Indiana and Detroit to do more promotions. They're still interviewing people. They're all hoping, to get all the funds to get the whole film fully produced, and which I believe they will. I'm hopeful.
Oh.
It's a great story, so I believe they will. And
completely great. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
and I'd be very, very honored and hopeful that I can portray, more scenes, more role, be him again, more roles, because they want to do reenactments.
Oh, very cool.
I think that's best with a lot of documentaries, even documentaries that I've seen over the years. Just reenactments, I think, really help tell the story best. Unless there's enough information where, I mean, there clearly is enough information, but for the example I'm going for is I think on Netflix there is a documentary called, I forget the name. I want to say American Killer or something like that, but it's a story about a man, I think in Colorado. I think he murdered his wife and 2 daughters, and the whole documentary it's told through text messages and captured videos and recordings. I don't think there's a single interview in the whole thing, but doing that forum, they had so much there. The story's completely told. You understand completely what happened through news interviews. Yeah, but maybe news interviews, news clippings like that. It's the only thing that's part of it.
Oh my goodness.
I forget what it's called, but it's definitely there. I forget the guy's name too. It popped up like a year ago all over like social media, and everyone's all about it. And I was like, all right.
Well, I'm just beginning to get into the world of Netflix. So now this is a question I want you to think about for a minute. When you first found out that you'd been cast as Major Taylor, how did your family respond to it, one? And have you ever sat down as a family and actually told them the story of Major Taylor?
Well, quick thing. I mean, my family, it was kind of like, I wouldn't say we're all like private or anything like that, but I would say, when people think of family, maybe like my family doesn't really fall under that category. So yeah, I mean, I love all my family. They're probably watching right now. I mean, they're all fantastic. I love my brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my cousins. I love them all. It was kind of just like, for me, it was like, oh, cool, sweet, great opportunity, great, another acting gig, great. I can't wait to do it. Can't wait to start, meet people, a lot of great people. Friends with them now. I still see some of them are out and about. And so when it happened, I just told them, I really had a good sit down, talk with them, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is like that. I just told them, I'm doing this project. It's a project from Major Taylor. I tell them about it, and they're like, oh, wow, they're inspired. They're like, oh, this is really great. But like, again, goes back to not his story not really being told as it should be. And there being so little information or so little known about him that he's unknown. And so that's why when I did tell like my mother, it's like, oh, cool, great, Mike, nice, let me know when it comes out or whatever. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. What do you think the next chapter of the Major Taylor story will be? I mean, we've talked about different ways it can be developed, different ways it can be heard about, but artistically and on a personal level for you, of course, because you're portraying him, what do you think the next chapter in the Major Taylor story should be or could be?
I think it would be or should be his legacy, like what the impact he's now had on the world, the impact he's had on myself and everyone else working on the film. his impact he left on everybody. How did what he do change, the world in so many ways. Um, that's what I'll take from it. I think that's all I got for that one.
Because I actually had thought about this yesterday. You know what I think would be a fabulous way to get a story out? Every single year, they should show the documentary that you're in at the Tour de France.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
That would be great. And plus, there is this little sporting event that comes up in Paris in 2024, and people gather together for 16 days.
I think I think people who are cyclist fans, most of them the ones that I have met, even a good buddy, Kevin Moylan. She's not watching, but Kevin Moylan, he cycles, he rides his bike, and he's a big fan of Major Taylor. When we did the parade about 2 months ago, but over the summer, we did the parade, and they were like, "It'd be great if Mike had a bike as he's Major Taylor." I'm like, "That'd be great. Can we get a bike?" Right. No one had a bike, and then eventually we found a nice guy who just happened to have a bike.
Wow!
I think they paid him like $20-$30 or whatever to let me borrow his bike, and he was already a fan of Major Taylor because he just kind of he had no idea what was going on, and then they're like, "Yeah, you borrow your bike," and he was like, "Sure." And so the pictures, anyone that saw the pictures from the parade, you see me on a bike. That's that gentleman's bike.
Oh God!
I forget his name, but I met him like.
Well, the next time that you the next time you hear from Barbara Gertchen, or the next time you hear from Kevin Moylan, tell them Miss Gaffney said hello.
Absolutely.
Now, where do you feel, you were talking about legacies a moment ago, what do you feel the Major Taylor legacy will be for future generations? Where do you think it sits now? Where do you think it has the capacity to go? What can build on it? Young potential bikers now, people can, because I'll set this up for you. I was so thrilled to hear that at the Paris Olympics 2 years from now, that something I grew up with, breakdancing, is now an official Olympic sport. That's going to change the game because they're trying to appeal to a younger audience. Breakdancing, the skateboarders have been there already, but I just can see. I grew up with Breaking Two, Electric Boogaloo, Crash Groove, and Beat Street. Yes, and I am so thrilled that that in 2024 at the Paris Olympic Games we're going to see people breakdancing for a gold, silver, or bronze. So putting that into perspective. What do you think the legacy can build upon? Where do you think it is now? Where do you think it has the capacity to go to? How do you think that it should get out there to effect positive change and make a lasting, permanent difference?
I believe that's really good. I believe his lasting legacy. First, it can go anywhere. It can go anywhere all over the world, but. Right. I think the biggest thing that I keep going back to is just inspiring, the world and people to chase after their dreams, to keep pushing forward. People ask me sometimes, like, how do you get into acting? How do you, stuff like that, or how do I try it? And I will always say just to be patient and just keep going, just audition. And just audition and keep going forward. That's the best advice I could get. Find auditions, do them. Practice yourself with monologues. You just got to do it. That's literally what I've always done.
Wow.
And with Major Taylor's story, everyone loves sports. Sometimes I'm surprised at how many people do like some sports. Because sometimes I'm not the biggest Olympic guy. The Olympics comes around every 4 years or whatever it comes around. I'm like, oh, cool, sweet, nice Olympics. But I never really watched Olympics. But so many people do, and cycling is going to get somebody's attention. It will.
It will. Completely will.
So it's just I lost my train of thought right now. Sorry, but. More, I guess, inspiration. Just be him inspiring the world, because the story is just so fascinating, and again, it's on the same level as Muhammad Ali, as Jim Brown, Warren Moon, I forget his name. What's his name? Doug Doug Williams. There we go. Doug Williams. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
He was a quarterback for the Washington Redskins, now Washington Commanders. But,
Right.
but
Well, do you think that in the future, I'm hoping one of the parts of his legacies will be, like, now they have that big, beautiful new African American History Museum that was built a few years ago.
Mhm.
I would love for there to be a Major Taylor museum telling the story from start to finish. The good, the bad, and the in-between.
There actually is a Major Taylor Museum.
Talk about that. I did not know that.
Right downtown here in Worcester, on Main Street. Jackie Robinson, that's another one. So this is Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson's another great name.
Yes.
There was
42, I have to say, 42.
And also another Chadwick Boseman film. That was fantastic.
And President Obama said it was the best baseball film he'd ever seen in his life. So there you go. Yeah.
There is a Major Taylor Museum. That's where we had the trailer viewing party. It's on I believe it's 2 Main Street, right downtown here in Worcester.
Oh, okay.
And you can go there. It's kind of small, but it's actually beautiful. Like I walked in there, it's one of those things I couldn't believe that this came from Worcester or Worcester's producing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when people go there, if they go to like the website you mentioned earlier, can they see parts of the museum there, or do they actually have to go there in person, or is there?
They actually have to go there and go there in person. Yeah.
Is it open 7 days a week or 5 days a week or?
That I'm not too sure.
Oh,
I'm not too sure.
All right. And do you know how that museum came to be there? I mean, what was the process that got it constructed?
Honestly, I don't know that part. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Okay. Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there once when we did the trailer viewing party.
Okay.
I think I just walked by it or something one day and it was there. I was like, oh, this is a thing now. Cool.
Yes.
I had no idea it was there. I just found it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, things like that, I often wish there was like a show that was on TV, even public access TV here, every week that would just talk about hidden gems like that, because I'm sure there's a great number of people that don't even know that museum is at 2 Main Street, you said?
2 Main Street.
2 Main Street, listeners. Yeah. If you get a chance, please
go
there.
Cyril even knows. He just said 2 Main Street as well.
Oh, thank you, Cyril.
It's 2 Main Street. So
yeah, that would be so great.
Go check it out.
Now, how did you, from an actor point of view, and Cyril, from a producer point of view, how did the two of you meet? What sorts of things did you talk about to make this a reality?
It was through Barbara Gurton, and on the first day of shooting the trailer, met Cyril. It was really, really great to meet him. He's a fantastic guy. You're a fantastic guy, Cyril.
There you go, Cyril.
Awesome dude. He just came up, introduced myself. We started talking and hit it off. This project is very near and dear to his heart, and it's very wonderful the time and effort he's put into it. To get this to see the light of day.
Now, before the filming began, did Cyril already know a lot about Major Taylor, or is this just like for the two of you a learn as you go kind of thing?
I think he did. I think he knows a little more than me. I think he might have been one of the driving forces to get the project off the ground.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Me, I just got a email from Barbara, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do this project?" And I was like, "Cool, sweet." So I'll do it. Yeah.
Well, it's like I always tell people: hard work is never forgotten, and if you have a great audition, whether you get cast or not, a good audition is always remembered, no matter where you go, no matter where it is, no matter what you do. Even if you have naysayers who sometimes will say, "Oh, we don't have any parts for you," go in there, do what you got there to do, say thank you kindly. Go on to your next thing. Because the thing that I've learned in my career is you must always keep going. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about people saying things like, "Oh, we don't have any parts for you." Doesn't matter. Do your audition. Say thank you for your time. Go on to your next thing. Because
Absolutely.
My younger brother, Craig, has always told me that all the stuff you're doing now is preparing you for whatever's coming next in your life. So you must keep striving, you must keep going forward, you must keep doing really great things. What is the most surprising thing you have experienced portraying Major Taylor?
I guess, how all the people that I've worked with, how much they love his story.
Right.
How much they know about him, because again, for me, I was like, I didn't know too much about him. I I just did it.
There you go. Just did it.
Yeah, I just didn't know, and so when it came to be to see how much delicacy they were treating the entire story. They wanted to get it right to the down to the T.
Wow, of course.
That was very surprising, but also very inspiring, very intriguing in some way.
And I'm so glad that this is on Facebook Live, because people will watch this after you and I, and they'll say, look at what Mike did, look at what Miss Gaffney did, imagine what I can do, because I'm a possibilities person, and I believe that the more positive things you put out there, the more you will inspire people very much, and things can keep, good things can keep coming from out of there. Tell my listeners your name one more time.
Mike Daniel. Mike Daniel.
Mike Daniel has been talking with us about the Major Taylor story. This is the first time I've ever done Facebook Live, so I hope I did okay. My name is Tina Gaffney. You have been listening to The African American Experience, a production of the Audio Journal, a proud member of the Massachusetts Audio Information Network. This program is brought to you in part by the Memorial Foundation for the Blind and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. If you would like a hard copy of our program schedule, either in large print or braille, please call 508-797-1117. Archived editions of this program are available on our website. And as I always say, the website is audiojournal.org, or go to the Audio Journal app on your iPhone or iPad. Always remember, listen, connect, create, and inspire. I'm your host, Tina E. Gaffney. Thank you for listening.
And that's it.
Yes, because I kept looking at the clock, because I know you have to be there by 3:15. So I wanted to make sure. Thank you so much. Will you be able to send that to me?
Yeah, I can save it.
Save it. Just send it somewhere. Did any people listen that you?
Some people came up. There's 3 people still watching right now.
Hello.
Hey, Cyril. Cyril's still watching.
Okay. Who are the other people?
Cyril says, to both of you, proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cyril.
Okay. Now, where was that? I didn't even see that on the screen, what Cyril said.
Oh, it's down at the bottom right here.
Oh, okay.
Some more people. Let's see what we got here. Any questions or anything like that? I just host people who are watching.
Good.
Some comments.
That's the first time I've ever done that, and I have you to thank for that.
You're
All right,
welcome.
let me save this, so we have to be...
All right, guys, I got to go to work right now, so put some steak on it.
So much,
We'll see you later.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
This was great.